See, this is why I need you. I'm so excited for today because I am so not only like social media illiterate, but just technology illiterate. So
It's a lot. It's a lot.
it is a lot. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving, and I just cannot keep up with everything. And I'm so thankful that you took the time to join me because you seem so busy, like doing 1,001 things. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to do this. So thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah. I always have my hand in something, but I'm someone who's like, my brain can't settle, so I need to be doing 1,000 things.
That's me. Oh, yeah. I'm ADHD all day, day, you know. So, but anyway, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I want to get, just jump into it if that's okay with you. I'm just picking your brain, but feel free to stop me at any time, because I always tell my interviewees I have a tendency to just like ramble on. So feel free to stop me at any time. But I do want to say hi to people. Hi, Lee. I see that you're here. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, so Claire, tell me a little bit about yourself. I want to just tell people who you are.
Yeah. So I've been in the lash industry, coming into my 8th year. So it's been a while. And it's funny, one of my clients said to me the other day, she was like, so you've been lashing since the beginning. And I was like, okay, you make me feel old, but
not the beginning of time.
No, not quite the beginning, but a while. So, so like 8 years in the lash industry. And then I started evolving over the past few years more into the business skills education space. But before I got into the lash industry, I was actually a child and youth worker. So
you're a
child and youth worker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
doing what?
So I worked with youth who were in conflict with the law. So either they were in custody or they were in specialized classroom programs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good until it wasn't good. And I just burnt out. So I got into the lash industry and kind of never looked back. So yeah, here I am. And I found my space, like making my clients feel beautiful because I still do like 7 appointments a week maybe, and then helping people grow their business and build the empire that they want. Yeah, whatever that means for them.
You're a woman of many hats because you have a podcast that I've been binging. I messaged you. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have been binging your podcast and I have to leave a review. I actually just figured out how to leave a review, so I'll go ahead and do that. But you also, your podcast goes over everything from like social media tips to branding tips to customer tips to even just diving into your own personal life, which is one of the things that I came across your page randomly and something that I was just like, I want to interview her. Something that drew me to you was you had such a unique personal brand about your posts.
Yeah.
Your posts were these bright colors, they just attention grabbing, and your captions were, you have this way of talking to people on your podcast as well, where it's like, it's raw and like unfiltered, and I love it. You'll kind of like lose your train of thought sometimes and then you'll pull it back. But you have this unique ability to really talk to people, even though we can't talk back and you're not really seeing who you're talking to. But I think that is so important. It's a science, and it's something that is so important that sets you apart from others in this industry is your unique self, because nobody can be you.
And that's like my biggest thing I always say, because people will be like, lashes is saturated or hair is saturated or nails, whatever, or fitness, whatever it is. But it's like literally no one can be you. And I know for myself without a doubt, like you're not going to get the same experience you get with me anywhere else. Like you can't, because I'm Claire Hooper, so being yourself and leaning into your uniqueness is so important, because then it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing, because no one can be your competition, right?
1,000%. I'm a huge vibes person as well. I know you use the word vibes a lot. Yeah, I always say like my top 3 words are probably like chocolate, dogs, and vibes. Because
love it.
Yes, vibes is such a huge thing, especially when you have clients that are coming to you every 2 weeks. I'm a lash artist, a former lash artist myself. I actually just quit to go full time into salon renter, which I'm super excited about. But I started off in the lash industry. And something, you made a post about this, and I thought it was really funny because I experienced the same thing, where you made a post about how you did a client's lashes for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, she was like, I actually don't really like
I don't
them,
like
but
them.
I'm going to keep coming back to you because I like your vibe.
Yes.
And that happened to me as well. When I was transitioning from my lashes to salon renter, I was telling all my clients, I was really nervous to tell them that I was quitting.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them, after I told her, she was like, oh, that's okay, because her friend and her were coming. We wanted to stop getting our lashes done for a while. We just wanted to take a break, but we didn't want to stop coming to you. So we just kept coming.
Yes.
And I was just like, wait, you've been wanting to stop for like, however long, but you wanted to keep coming to spend time with me.
Yes.
And it's you specifically what keeps clients, or what should be keeping clients coming back. Because if it's just, I'm going to shut up, but I'm sure that if it's just them coming to you because of the lashes, they pass probably 20 other lash girls to get to you.
Exactly. So it's like there's nothing that's keeping them, because like I'm good, but I'm not the only good person in my area. Like there's also lots of other really good girls, right? So you have to stand out a little differently. And I see sometimes people in the lash forums, or, I'll have students of mine, and they're kind of upset that lash artists or I guess any industry, who are really bad are full of clients. And they're like, they're so terrible. Their work is bad, but they're booked. And I'm like, because people like them. Mm-hmm. Because they're great at vibe and sales. So clients are willing to have a bad service in order to be around you and be your client. So that it says a lot.
1,000%. And
yeah.
I've actually the thought of somebody, I just lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. I'm so like you and your podcast. And that's why I feel like we're like soul sisters in that way. But so let's talk a little bit about social media. Do you have a background in social media? How did you transition? Like, why did you want to transition to teaching about branding and marketing and all of that?
Yeah. So I don't have a background in social media, like specifically. I was a youth worker, then a lash artist. So I started transitioning a little bit before I started building an email list, I will say, before the pandemic, because I was like, you know what? No one is doing these business skill things. Like I would just chat in the DMs to lash artists who were my friends, and they were like, oh, you have a website? Like, I don't have a website. Mm-hmm. Or like, oh, I don't have an email list, like things. And I was like, why don't people have these things? Like, I'm not understanding why. Like to me, it felt very basic business knowledge, because so I was a youth worker, but I also taught people how to make soap. So I've taught like hundreds of people how to make soap and bath bombs. I ran like a circuit of courses. Yeah. So I see I've done a million things, but for that, I had like an email list and certain things. So I knew it was important. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, yo, I have to shut down my salon, because I remember it was March 13th and the government was like, close your doors. So, and then my husband owned a gym, so he had to close too. And I was like, okay, so I'm just broke. Like, what am I going to do? And so we kind of like sat down. I felt sorry for myself for a couple days. And then I got an email from a motivational speaker, and she was promoting her course. And I was like, an online course, like I could do that. Like, because people ask me about websites, they ask me about email, they ask me about like, Claire, how are you so confident on camera? Like, how do you get out there? So I created 2 online courses, one about building a website, one about email marketing. And on my launch, I made like $10,000. Wow. So I was like, okay, I know that I can make money from anywhere in the world, and people are craving these skills. Like, people want to know how to do these things. So at that moment, I was like, this is where I'm meant to lead.
Well, because we're not taught that in school.
Yeah, no.
When we graduate cosmetology school or esthetician school, whatever, we're just taught, how to do the proper sanitation and how to properly, apply the lashes or whatever, but we're not really taught the business side. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's why so many people in our industry are scared to go out into business for themselves, because they just don't know, how do I do an LLC, or how do I do email marketing, mm-hmm. or X, Y, and Z. So educators like you that are able to put it in such simple, down-to-earth ways, mm-hmm. I appreciate so much, because it is very helpful to those in our industry. And I seriously have been learning so much from your podcast. I'm not even
thank you.
giving you compliments, but no, really. So are your courses still active? Are they still live? Your online courses? Can people find those somewhere?
Yes. So things are in a transition phase a little bit. So the
Mm-hmm.
only thing I have up right now is Lash Biz Tune-Up. So only for lash artists. So it's like a 14-day crash course into building your business. So every day we have a new lesson over 14 days. So it is intensive. It is for people who are ready to put in the work. And then, yeah, over the 14 days, we talk about branding, money, email, like there's lots of things we do. And it's just like a jump start to get your business side going.
Yeah, that's awesome. And even though you say lashes, like you talk about, oh my gosh, sorry. Even though you talk about lashing in your podcast, a lot of it, it's not just for lash
No.
artists. You know, it's for really everybody in this industry can apply it to their own, whatever they're doing, you know, hairstylists, lash artists, estheticians, whatever.
Yes.
Because it's really important information. So,
yeah. And like business is really universal. And I say that like when I'm really passionate about email marketing specifically, but when I say to people, like, if you look at like Nike or Old Navy sends me 4 emails a day,
yeah,
at least, like they hustle, but like, why do they do that? They do that because it works. So like we shouldn't treat our businesses any different than these major multi-billion-dollar corporations. Like there's a reason they invest money into it.
Yeah, 1,000%. So I'm going to get into like the importance of, because I know you're a big advocator for email marketing, and it's something I definitely want to get into because that's something that a lot of us we don't know how to do. But first, before we hit that, I do want to touch on a little bit of social media because that is how I found you, and your social media really surprised me because you really don't have that many followers.
I don't.
I mean, you have like 4,000.
I think I'm still under maybe. Yeah.
And something that I love is that you say all the time, it's not about how many followers you have. One, it's about like the email list that you have because you own that. But also it's more about like the community and the engagement that you're building. And something that you do an amazing job at is engaging with your followers. So can you talk a little bit about that? How did you find your voice? How did you find your brand?
So it wasn't easy to start. Like you see me now, people see me and they're like, Claire, you're so confident. But I'm like, my first videos were not like this. Like I have to dig them out of the crates and show people. And I know this is maybe not the answer everyone's looking for, but you really just have to start. Done is better than perfect every single time. But showing your real self, like I'm not afraid to like stumble and say the wrong word. Like I'm not afraid to be like in my bonnet or my pajamas. Like it's just the real me. And I think we try to be so polished for social media because we want it to be super beautiful, but it's like, it doesn't have to be that. People are craving a real connection with somebody. And if you just show up as yourself, people are going to love that. Like I promise you, just being real, like the information that you're giving comes secondary, and genuine connections with people. So, I send a lot of voice notes with people all the time. I think I sent you a voice note.
You did.
Yeah. And I send voice notes because they're really personal. They help my scattered brain, like just being able to get it out, but they just make that personal connection with people. They hear a real voice, and we're craving that in such a superficial online world. So I would say that's one of my biggest selling features is just that I'm like really real.
Yeah.
I don't try to follow trends. Like I'm like, you know, like, I don't know, at the end of the day, like if you're just showing yourself and how you really are, it doesn't matter if you post 20 reels a day or if you post a picture or if you're in your stories, like however your audience and the right people are going to find you.
Right. So do you have some sort of like formula or format for, because from the little I know about Instagram, social media, some things that I've read is like, you have to post X amount of times a day. Certain, like, I think someone said you have to post like 10 stories a day. I'm like, who has time for that? So do you have, because I know being consistent is important, but do you have a certain formula that you follow for how many times you post, or is it just kind of like when inspiration strikes you?
I'm an inspiration strikes kind of person. I mean, if you look at my Instagram right now, you can see like, obviously there's certain posts, right? There's like the quote posts, then I have the video posts of me talking, you know, and then I have my carousel. So that's kind of my new format. But I think you just want to have well-rounded content. So you want to show like educational posts. You want to show posts that are just for fun. So sometimes I have like really ridiculous reels or memes, like just entertainment wise. You want to show your portfolio, you know, how you're working, some behind the scenes posts, like just, I try to have a well-rounded, it's inspiration. Like I would say I would be lying if I said that everything was 100% perfectly planned out. Like,
Yeah.
I just made a carousel today because it came to me what I wanted to do. But my idea of the colors I want and the format I want is pre-planned,
Right.
but the topic is not always.
I got you.
Yeah.
How do you like organize your ideas for content?
So as I said, I'm super scattered, but I have Evernote. Have you heard of that program?
Yes, I
Evernote.
have.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I have an Evernote on my phone, and literally when I'm just thinking of it, I write it down. Like, I'm always writing down ideas. And then when I want to post, I just go to that master list.
Do you have other apps that you're like, oh, must have for social media?
Evernote, Canva, Planoly. If you want to plan it out and see how it's going to look on your grid, Planoly is amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
really good. And when I'm feeling very organized, I use it, but I can't, just to keep it real, I don't always use it, right? But it's a really good app if you're someone, and there's a free version if you want to see how your grid's going to look.
Yeah. Thankfully, I think like Canva has a free version
Yeah.
as well. And Evernote, I think Evernote is free. So those are really good suggestions. Now, what
And
are
I
some
think
big...
too, oh, sorry.
No, please, you go.
I was going to say another thing, and no one ever wants to hear this, but showing your face.
Yes.
You have to show your face, and people will be like, no, you don't have to. Yes, you do. Like,
Why?
I
agree with you, but why do you say that?
Because people want to know who's behind the brand, especially if you're a solopreneur. Like, if it is just you and your business, like, they're buying from you. They're not buying, like we talked about earlier, they're not buying the lashes or the hair or the nails. They're buying you and your personal brand. And I love that you said that my personal brand is what attracted you, because I think first and foremost, we need to have that in any industry that you're in. And that's really like the online representation, or your online why can't I think of the right word? Reputation. It's kind of like your online reputation, your personal brand. So showing your face shows the person behind the brand, who you are, gives your vibe. And like, I don't know, if I'm coming to your salon and I'm getting a service with you, like, I want to know what you look like.
Right.
Just, I want to know who you are.
And let's be honest, like, after we see about 10 pictures of lashes, the client kind of understands that your work is either good or not what they're looking for. So if you go to somebody's page and it's just all lashes, hair maybe could be a little bit different, because I feel like there might be some more variety, but I agree with you. When they go to your page, it's like you want to set yourself apart somehow from all the other lash artists who on their social medias have just as good of pictures of lashes as you do. So what sets you apart? And so what mistakes do you think people make other than just doing like or what mistakes did you make in social media when you first started?
One thing was not being consistent. And I would get down about that. Like, in the beginning, for sure, I'd be like, I'm not seeing any growth or engagement. But it's like, if you just post one time and then you don't post for 2 weeks, like, the algorithm's not going to favor you. We're all like at the will of the algorithm, which sucks, but it is what it is, right? So that was a mistake. This is simple, but like not putting your location in your bio if you're trying to attract people for services. I see so often people don't put where they're from. And it's like, if you need people to come to your salon, you have to put the city you're in, because social media is global.
You're in Canada, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. I'm just outside of Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, I don't have my location in my bio because I'm not trying to have people come to me. Like, my paid, I don't no longer take new clients.
Right.
So, like, I don't need to have my location of where I am because my business is online. But definitely location and being consistent, I think, are two mistakes people make. And also trying to keep up with the Joneses is a mistake. And I really did that for a long time. I was like, other people are doing this and other people are going viral and other people but then it's like, I'm not other people. So we try to do what everybody else is doing. And even I can say this in my like business coaching space. For a while, I remember I did this photo shoot, and the pictures, I don't even like them because I'm like sitting at a computer and like I have like really business coachy clothes on, and like it's not me. Like, I want to wear a jean jacket and a shirt like that has a dinosaur on it. Like, that's what I want to do. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Bring the dinosaurs out.
Yeah. And people, we try to fit like this image, and I think that can really hurt you too, because you almost feel like a fraud. Like, I felt like I'm only going to be a successful business coach if I look like it. But it's like, once I started just being me, that's when like the calls came and the opportunities came.
So how did you because when you post videos or you posts and maybe let's say you're starting out, so you don't get a lot of likes or you don't get a lot of comments or shares or whatever, was there a point where you would get kind of like down on yourself, when you were just first starting out? Or how did you how did you basically stop caring, or did you stop caring?
To a degree, like we're still like human, you know, when you have a
Yeah.
post that goes really well or gets really good engagement, you're like, I'm the best. Like,
Yeah.
like we get in that about ourselves. And it's a work in progress all the time, every day. But I think once you start getting really clear on your vision and your purpose, like why you're doing what you do, then it's like your path is just so clear. So it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing because you just have a goal of what you want to accomplish. So getting into that headspace and being like, there's enough for everybody, abundance mindset, those sort of things, like anybody who's listening, who's not feeling confident, like look into abundance mindset, just realizing there's enough for everybody. So you don't have to look at what other people are doing.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question was,
Mhm.
do you look at other accounts for inspo? Because I know sometimes what I do is I can't stop myself from, making my own graphics, and I'll post it. And I'm so OCD. I'm such a perfectionist. It's something that I'm still working on with my own content creation. And I can spend 5 hours on Canva moving a little single line back and forth and back and forth. And then I'll post it. I'll be like, okay, that's awesome. And then I'll look at somebody else's account and I'll be like, oh, but I like how they did this.
Yeah.
So do you ever find that you compare yourself to other people still?
1,000%, for sure. But then you go back to being like, I have to do it my way, right? For me. And like their thing works for them, but if I copied it, it wouldn't work for me. Like, because you have to have your own self shining through in the brand.
Exactly. Because then it wouldn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be authentic because that's not you. It's somebody else. And that's what
Exactly.
works for them. Yeah. Easier said than done sometimes.
It's totally easier said than done. And with posting and stuff, I really say done is better than perfect. And as someone who also wants things to look really crisp and nice and professional, sometimes it's hard to put something out there when you're like, it's not perfect. But you have to think of when we're starting to, and I think people will look at, like, sometimes people will really comment on the quality of my video. So my newer videos that I have out recently are just my phone. But before, like, I'm filming on a camera, like a professional camera setup, right? And people will be like, Claire, once I get your camera, then I'll start posting. And I was like, well, I couldn't afford that camera when I first started. So you can't look at people's end game and try to compare your starting game. Because like if you look at my stories today, I feel I look very confident. But if you look at maybe your story today, you don't look like mine, but how could you? I've been doing it for years, right? So
yeah, something that makes me feel kind of better, what I like to do sometimes is just scroll back on somebody's, like a influencer's Instagram, like to the very, very early post, and I'm like, oh, okay, she's putting out, maybe she wasn't putting out great content when she first started, or her content might look a little bit more polished now. And it's a journey. We're all at our own spots in our journey.
Yeah, and it's going to evolve over time. Like if you scroll back on my page, I've gone through so many different aesthetics on my page of what worked, and then maybe the past month I've changed to those really bright colors, and I love it. Like I'm so happy with it. I really love it. And so I had to go through so many different aesthetics before I found the one that feels good, like in my heart, that I really, really love.
So when you were starting to record yourself or podcasts or videos, what were the early stages of that? Were you like tripping up over your words? Were you nervous to show your face? Talk me through how did you get over that? Because that's something, like with reels being, as important as they are, although now I heard that Instagram's going back to pictures, but
it changes every day.
It changes every day. Yeah. So how did you overcome putting your face out there?
So you have to start in steps. I feel like people just think right away you have to show your face, which you do eventually, but you can start by just getting comfortable talking on the camera. So like you could show your meal, what you're eating, or like your space, like show what's around you, but just get comfortable talking behind the camera is a good way to really start. And I started that way too, like showing my hands doing something, like setting up my camera, or like my room, my space, like, oh, I'm on a walk, like look at this hiking space I'm at, right? And then slowly showing my face. And it doesn't have to be long. People think they have to make this long form content. I just started out with like, hey, it's Claire, I hope you're having a great day, the weather's great. Boom, that's it.
Yeah, and I noticed that no, you ahead, sorry.
Oh, sorry. And like after I get off the camera, I'm like sweating, I'm nervous, like, but
palms are sweaty.
Yes.
Weak arms are heavy.
But it only, yes, Eminem, I love him. But you only have to do it for a few seconds. And then every day you just try to get a little bit better. And your stories are such a great way to start getting comfortable on camera because they disappear in 24 hours and they're so casual. So what you put on your feed sometimes is a lot more formal. Like if you're deciding how you're going to create a reel, or you're like doing a voiceover or something more serious, then you have to spend time planning it. But in your stories, it literally can be like, I'm baking banana bread today. Like, it doesn't have to be that serious. And it's a great way to show your personality, build your engagement with your already current followers, and get comfortable in front of the camera.
Well, building engagement is something that I think I've already mentioned. I really feel that you're awesome at. And back to the whole, well, it doesn't have to be long, to your point. I really love how your podcasts aren't really that long, some of them, you know, because my ADHD brain, you know, these little 10, 20, 30-minute podcasts, I really love. And same with your videos on Instagram. Sometimes I get tripped up with my content creation ideas, and I'm like, okay, if I want to teach about this, I feel like I need to shove all the information into one post. And I need to remind myself, you can break it up. It's probably better to like break it up in little segments, more content, and less for them to try to absorb. So just something that I'm still, you know, this is really helping me so far.
And we spend a lot of time on the conversation, but people just want to know, like, even YouTube, I saw the other day, this was an ad, and they were saying with YouTube videos, people just like, hey, how are you? I'm Claire. Like, they give a lot of info, but then it's like, people just want to know what's going on. So
exactly.
Like, you just have to cut to the information.
Do you do YouTube? Are you on any other like platforms?
I don't have my own YouTube. I have a branding deal with a lash brand, so I do content for them. And they have a YouTube channel. So I'm on their YouTube, but I don't have one for me because I don't like video editing.
Well, I actually really like that you don't do a ton of editing for your podcast or seemingly for your videos. Again, it's just really raw, and I think that helps connect your viewers with you. It's not, you know, it's professional, and the information that you're giving is really good, but it's not like, I feel like sometimes Instagram can be so, I don't want to say fake, but fake.
Too curated and fake. Yeah.
So I think there's definitely something to be said. There's somebody that I follow. She's huge. I think she's like the money making esthetician or something. And it's just her, just a very raw footage of herself just talking. And I love that. And that's something that I aspire to do. But I want to get into your call to actions and your copywriting and just secrets for creating engaging content. Do you have what are your secrets for creating engaging? Tell us your secrets.
Definitely always have to have a call to action, like telling people where to go, because you have to think, I hope people don't take this the wrong way, but you have to think of your followers as they don't, not that they don't know anything, but like, they don't know what to do next. They don't know what you want them to do unless you tell them, because we live in a world of scroll really quickly. So unless you stop someone in their tracks and are like, hey, comment, click the link in my bio, head to my stories for more information, like, you have to tell them what the next step is. So that's one of the things. I try to always have a call to action. And usually my call to action is to get them off the platform. Like, a lot of times, like, either comment on my stuff, but I really want you to come to my website. Like, that's where I want
you to go. Right, like redirecting them somewhere.
Yeah, redirecting, like, where do you want them to go? So we can further our conversation. Quick content, getting to the point. A lot of times people will say to me too, Claire, you give away so much for free, right? And my thoughts always is I'll always have a million great ideas. Like, I'm never worried about giving away free content because it helps build my audience, and you have to establish yourself as the expert. So I think that's a content creation tip, is you have to be showing people that you know what you're talking about. No one would buy my course if I never gave away any tidbits for free. Like, I could be like, buy my course, and they'd be like, why? Like, why should I buy it? Like, I don't know if you know anything, right?
Here, take my money.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a really big one, is establishing yourself as the expert in your content, that you know what you're talking about, because we really do have to earn people's coins, right? Like, we have to come up with content that's going to show them why they should be spending their money with us. And people don't want to think of it that way, but we really are in sales. Like, we're always selling. You are, and no one wants to think that. Like, I'm not a salesperson. Yes, you are. Like, you know, when a client comes and they need lash shampoo, you're selling them on that, right? So content creation secret would definitely be call to actions, establishing yourself as the expert, and short. Don't get too rambly. Like, you can just do little snippets.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's excellent. Those are excellent tips. And oh my God, I just lost my train of thought again. It's too late for me. I don't know how you do your podcast. When I'm listening to your podcast, you're like, yeah, it's 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
I'm like, does she ever sleep?
Yeah. Are you on Eastern Standard Time or is it later for you?
No, I am.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just, the brain just isn't quite there today.
Yeah.
So, how do you, I have so many questions here, but I want to get, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to go into marketing because I know email marketing. I really wanted to hit on that. And I was listening to your podcast and you were comparing like email marketing, social media. If you had to do one, which one would you choose?
Yeah, email every single time. If I could only pick one.
Yeah.
Because so there's like some stats on email that I always really love, and you might have heard them because you listened to my podcast episode, but email marketing has the highest ROI, which is return on investment on any marketing platform. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, like whatever, Google ads, email sells more pound for pound every single time. So if you were to, this is like the stat, but like if you were to invest $1 into email marketing, you could expect $44 in return. So obviously you have to be selling something for that to happen, but I have never sold an email and not made money, or sent an email and not made money, whether that was trying to book spots, selling retail products, selling courses, mentorship, someone always buys. Now, it's the same with social media. You have to have an engaged email list, right? Like you wouldn't just buy, I wouldn't buy a list of email subscribers from a personal trainer. Like that wouldn't make sense because I'm selling to beauty professionals, right? So, but I just find you can engage more. You can do more long form content, right? In an email. Like I can send a whole newsletter with lots of information. I can add links, go to my podcast, go to my Instagram, go to my website, like different things. It's more exclusive. So another reason people feel like they're part of like a club, right? You're in my email community. I always call it my community. And it's not, Instagram's for everybody. Like I saw a quote, someone talking about email and they were like, Instagram's for the streets. Like it's for everybody, right? But like email is so exclusive and you can kind of continue on your conversation with your prospective clients privately. Because sometimes people are a little bit worried about like putting all their good ideas or things on social media, but it's like, well, have an email and then it can be private when you're running a sale or when you're doing, you know, an exclusive offer, right?
And on top of that, when you do post on Instagram, you know, how many times do your followers actually see as they're scrolling? Because, you know, at Instagram, it's scrolling. But for email marketing, it's direct and it can be very personable. And on top of that, if Instagram were to disappear tomorrow, there goes all your followers.
Yeah, and that happens, right? When Facebook or Instagram goes down, people are losing it. They're like, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, well, get an email list and then you don't have to worry about it because you actually own your email list, which people don't know. Like I don't own my followers on Instagram. Like Mark Zuckerberg owns them, right? Like, you know, it's in the fine print. They don't belong to me. But in email, like those emails, like as long as someone doesn't unsubscribe, like I have access to them indefinitely, right? Which is really valuable.
It is really valuable. So how do you go about growing your email list?
So you want to create something that is free yet valuable to get people on your list because it has to be an exchange. So it can't just be like, hey, join my list. People are like, great. Like I already get 1,000 emails from Old Navy. Why would I join your list? Right? It's already too much. So you have to give people something in exchange for their email. You're giving them something in exchange to be able to market to them because that's what it is, right? So it's like, I'm giving you something that's really, really good. So you're going to give me your email. So you're allowing me permission to market to you. So a freebie. So I've created lots of freebies, but I've had like a social media, like how to run your social media. So when I talked about those different, like having educational posts, behind the scenes posts, that sort of stuff, I create a freebie about that. I've had a freebie about how to get booked and busy in your business, like a 30-day challenge to be able, like something you should do every day to be able to grow clients in your business. So it can be an ebook, it can be an audio file, it can be like maybe you're really good at designing post ideas and you make some graphics. That's something. Access to exclusive content if you write blogs, anything like that. So something free yet valuable that you can exchange for people's email. That's the best way to grow your list. But I mean, if you're a solopreneur, like you're doing beauty services, every client who comes in your door, you should have their email. So that's growing your list too. Yeah.
And then for like the lash artist, or maybe somebody that feels like they don't really have the knowledge to put a blog or a freebie sort of thing together, they can still put a newsletter together with, you know, how to clean your lashes and tips for their clients.
Yes, no, 100%. So you should still, even if you're like, okay, I'm struggling to build it bigger, just the clients you have, build your community, like solidify the community you have, because it is much easier to renew a relationship with a previous client than it is to prospect a whole new one. I find so many beauty professionals are looking for new clients. How do I get new clients, new clients, new clients? But it's like, but you've had 200 people come through your doors in the last 5 years. Like, where are they now?
Right.
Like, if you're running an email newsletter, you're always in contact with them. Like, sometimes I'll send out a newsletter to my clients, like, because I still keep in contact, even though I don't take new clients, like just what I'm up to, my business stuff. Like, people just want to hear from me, right? And sometimes people will be like, Claire, like, I haven't come and seen you in 4 years, but I'm so excited that you're growing in your business. So it's like they've been reading my emails all these years, right? So you really should keep up with previous clients because they've already seen you.
And yeah, I think that's totally an avenue that we forget about, is reaching out to people that might have reached out to us and then they just didn't get back to us. But it's so much easier to kind of try to keep those clients, because if you're just trying to fill the bucket, but there's a hole in the bucket, you know, you're going to work 1,000 times harder than just maybe trying to nurture those relationships that might have fallen off a little bit. You know, reaching out an email saying like, hey, I haven't seen you in a bit, you know, something like that can get you a client back. And you know,
100%. And even just like a tip for people, like with my what I was doing with my lash lift business before was people would get a lash lift, and then I would have my system set up that 5 weeks after their lash lift, they would get an email saying that they need to book their next lash lift. So even something simple like that, sometimes people just forget. And then it's been 2-3 months and they're like, oh, I got to book that appointment. Like, you always have to be reminding people.
Yeah. And clients, I'm sure, like being followed up on.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's important.
And if they don't like it, they'll unsubscribe. It's not the end of the world, right? Yeah.
Do you have an email, a company or email that you like using? Like, I know MailChimp is one.
I love Flowdesk. That's the one that I use. I really love Flowdesk. I think it's really beautiful. The pricing is really good in comparison, but I know like starting business or getting things is expensive. So MailChimp is free. You can get a free version of MailChimp. So it's good. It's just once you grow, it could become expensive. You're going to have to start to pay at some point. So
how often do you send emails? How often would you recommend that you do email marketing campaigns?
I do once a month. So over previously, before 2021, I would say even in 2020, I would be sending weekly, but then I just found it was too much because a lot of people came online over that time, right? So people were getting a lot of emails. So I slowed back to once a month and just created a longer newsletter.
Okay. So how about some other marketing tips? I know email is a huge one. What are some other marketing tips where people come to you, Claire, I want to get more clients in. What can I do? What tips would you have for them?
Yeah. So one good thing is to try to leverage other people's audiences. So like lookalike audiences. So in your community, and sometimes we live online, so we get nervous to go do this, but called like guerrilla marketing, right? But like if you can go, say in your neighborhood, there's a hair salon. Like I know I'm always giving an example of lashes, but you can apply it to anything.
Right.
And that's the thing about business. Like, it's not unique what I'm saying to lashes. There are business coaches in fitness. There are business coaches for corporate, and they say similar things, right? So unique audiences or similar audiences. So you can go to, you know, a hair salon down the street and be like, hey, I'm new to the neighborhood, or I'm, you know, currently accepting scarcity is a good one. I'm currently accepting 20 clients at the moment. If you know anybody in your salon who's looking for lashes, just here's my card. Just think of my name. You know what I mean? Come down the street, something like that. So that's a really good marketing tip, is getting active in your community. People around you need to know who you are. And I think that's really big. And even like me, from my business online, right? Like I'm leveraging another audience by coming on your live, right? Because your followers now have access to me. And even I saw on here, some of my followers, they might follow you too, but some of my followers came on the live, right? So then you have access to my audience, right?
Right.
So it goes back and forth. So definitely leveraging other people's audience is a really good marketing tip to do.
Like collaborating and
Yeah,
networking.
collab. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just when I was lashing and I was working with another permanent makeup artist, we would, you know, collab and send clients back and forth. So yeah, it's a really good idea to just pop into some other, you know, beauty places and try to build a relationship with them.
Yeah. And you can always do someone's lashes. Like I know people will do people's like services or lashes for free. If you feel like an influencer or someone, if you do that, I just make sure it's worth your while. That's the only thing. Like sometimes people will get into contracts with influencers and like they're not shouting you out or they're not really promoting your work sort of thing. So just make sure that it's mutually beneficial if you're going to be giving out free services.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Now, I know you've been in the business a while. So what if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice to you just starting out in the industry, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Definitely to be gentler on myself would be
That's a good one.
the thing. Like, everybody sucks in the beginning. Like, I think we think that we're just going to take the course.
Can we say that again? Everybody sucks in the beginning.
Yes, everybody sucks. Like,
drive it home.
Learning any kind of new skill, whether it's in the beauty industry or outside, is like really hard. Like, it's not easy to do. And when you're starting a business, you're like, okay, I have to learn the skill. Now I have to learn how to market. Now I got to show my face on social media. Now I got to manage client expectations. Like managing clients, oh my goodness, that should be a whole course in itself. If anybody's on here listening and you want to start a course, do managing clients, because that's hard, right? You're managing, like I think of all the personalities I manage in a day with my clients, right? Like, you know bits of their life and what's going on. And, you know, this person had a death in their family. This person got married. This person had their first grandchild, and you got to know it all, right? Like you got to be on all the time for your clients. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. And that's something that I would tell myself, be gentle with yourself because you're managing a lot.
I love that. And that does set you apart, by the way, remembering those little things about the clients. And you know, we do handle a lot. We're like a therapist. We're dealing. I don't think people realize how hard it is lashing when you're dealing with like little teeny microscopic things. But on top of that, when you have clients that also want to talk to you and they're moving all over, their eyes are going crazy. We're trying to pay attention to what we're doing while also paying attention to what they're saying. And it's really hard. It's easy to be hard on yourself. It's something that I struggle with daily almost. It is like, you know, trying not to compare myself to others and trying to give myself grace because I'm still learning. I mean, in reality, we should be continuously learning, you know, so that's how we don't stale out. But there's so many learning curves being thrown at you when you're your own boss, when you're trying to learn how to do social media, when you're trying to learn how to handle like a work-life balance, and it can just be very overwhelming. And so I think giving yourself grace is a really good advice, and something that I know I personally need to try to remind myself of. And you know, another story that you shared that I just really loved was, I think it was like, the title was like, I was salty AF. Something like that. And you were describing, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were describing a friend of yours and how she had opened up her lash studio. And you walked in, you saw it, and you got a little maybe jealous or something like that. And just reminding yourself again that we're all on our own journey.
It's so true. And she is still in business and she's absolutely killing the game. So Courtney, if you're on, you're killing it. When she came in, because I would do her lashes still, and she was like, was that post about me? I'm like, yes, it was. Of course it was about you and your beautiful studio. Like, but yeah, I felt so jealous. But then when I thought about it, and I think this is a really good thing when we're comparing ourselves to others, I don't want that. I don't want to run a salon. I don't want to have staff. I mean, maybe one day I'll have to have an assistant or something, but like, I don't like at my core want to do that. So I'm like, how can I go into her salon and be salty when I don't even want this? Like, it doesn't even make sense. So when we compare ourselves to others, like, do you even want what they have? And then when you realize that you might not even want that, you're like, oh, it doesn't even make sense to be comparing.
And it goes back to the whole branding thing. You know, sometimes the reasons your clients might be coming to you is because you're that one little room versus going to somebody else that it's a booth and they have like all, 10 booths. So I think that's just really important to remember.
Yeah.
Now, where can people connect with you if they want to learn more? Because I really love your tips.
Oh, thanks.
And I would really love to have you on again, because I honestly have like 50 more questions, but I want to be respectful of your time, because I'm sure you have like 20 more things that you need to get accomplished tonight.
A few things. Yeah. Mostly I have kids too. Sometimes people are like, I didn't know you had kids. And I was like, maybe I need to post my boys more, but I have 2 boys. So I'm getting them off to bed. Yeah.
And
so people can connect with
mom too.
Yes. I love plants. I love plants. I went a little bit crazy. My husband was like, no more plants. And I was like, I'm going to get some more.
But yeah, where can people connect with you?
Yeah. So mostly I'm on the gram. Honestly, like at the moment, I don't do TikTok. I don't do Facebook. Like, so that's another thing. I'm not trying to be on all platforms like some people will tell you to do. I just stay on Instagram. So it's _Claire Hooper. And my website is VivienClaire.com. So my first name is actually Vivien, but my mom always called me Claire. So that's why lots of things are Vivien Claire, but I go by Claire. Anyway, Vivien Claire, my website is down for maintenance right now. I am switching over to a new platform. So, but you can join my email community there. Like, there's a link there. But yeah, mostly Instagram.
There's also a question I just figured out how to read. Lauren, oh, hi, Lauren. Lauren asked, do you have a strategy for balancing content creation with actually engaging with your audience? I feel like I always spend more time creating than actually engaging, and I want to be better about that.
So done is better than perfect. Don't spend even set a timer for yourself when you're creating content. Like, I'm going to spend 20 minutes, half an hour creating this post. Like, set a time limit for yourself. And I will say the engaging is more important than what your content looks like. Because if people are commenting, like, they're taking time out of their day and the busy, universe of social media to comment. So you really want to respond to comments. You really want to respond to your DMs. Send a voice note in the DMs if it's easier to get back to people. So I don't really necessarily have a strategy, setting time aside. So if you're going to post and people are going to comment right when you post, because usually it's within the first couple hours of your post that people comment. Make sure you have your phone. You can check in on those to send them back, because and this is something I try to do. I'm not always 100% at it, but try to respond with meaningful comments to people. Like, you actually took the time to read it, not just like an emoji reply or an LOL. Like, try to actually respond to people. Yeah.
Because people can sniff that out. People can tell when you're being authentic.
Yeah. And I'm sure like the more followers you get, like me, even like when we said at the beginning, like, I don't have a ton of followers, but for me, it's great because I can still engage. Have hundreds of thousands of followers, it's going to be very difficult to get back genuinely to everybody, but just try, the people you do respond to, just try to be genuine. So I don't really have necessarily a strategy. It's more like setting aside the time and just being authentic about it.
Yeah. Now, one more topic, and this wasn't really even the topic of what we were talking about, but I really love your podcast. How did you start your podcast? Were you just like, I want to do it, it's something I've always wanted to do, hit record, let's do this? Or was this like a mind thing that you went through, like, oh, should I do it, should I not, I want to do it?
I went back and forth for like a couple weeks. Like, I'm a leaper. Like, I didn't used to be a leaper, but now, like, I have an idea and I want to execute it immediately is kind of my thing, how I want to roll. I did have a lot of Evernote planning, I will say, in those couple weeks. Like, I did plan out episodes. I planned out points I wanted to say, links I wanted to have for the episode. So I was really organized in the beginning. And then I just researched. So if you want to start a podcast, Buzzsprout is where I host my podcast. It's like $12 a month. So they send it to Apple, they send it to Google and Spotify. But they have a really good free blog post about creating a podcast, and it's really good. And it's really, really complete. It goes over all the things you have to think about when creating a podcast. So I would suggest people start there if they're thinking about it. But it was just one of those things like, I want to do, I'm going to do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And as I said, like probably 1,000 times, I've gotten a lot of value out of your podcast.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I subscribe. And as I said today, I figured out how to leave you a review. So I'll be doing that today.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Claire, I want to thank you so much, and I'm going to let you go because we're already over time, but I really want to thank you for joining me, and I would love to have you on again to answer the rest of my questions. And but is there anything else that you'd like to add? If not, then...
No, not really. Just that I think what you're doing is amazing, because
thank you.
I see it as a question all the time. People looking for space, people looking to rent space, like in their salon. So I was like, when I saw when you had messaged me and then I looked into what you were doing, I was like, how has this never been a thing yet? Like, this is such a good idea.
I really appreciate it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was just really excited that you responded to
Yeah.
it. My husband is, I was like, yeah, I got Claire for the live.
Yeah.
So, Claire, thank you so much. For everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to text you later, but Claire, thank you. And you guys, make sure you follow her podcast, Vivien Claire Podcast, because honestly, I really have learned a lot. And it's not just for lash artists, it's for everyone in the industry who can get value out of this. So
thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Okay, have a good night,
You
everybody.
too.
Bye.
Bye.